Thanks. So, as Vera already mentioned, this small talk is dedicated to a deep understanding the experience of patients with NF2 and Schwannomatosis, and it was carried out some time ago, and it's focused on two countries, Spain and Italy. The research was carried out with the help of AI, leveraging multilingual natural language understanding. Just a couple of words about our methodology and also the methodology of this specific research. So it is based on what we call patient voice, which means first-hand testimonies of patients and caregivers shared online on various social platforms. Of course, all the data is anonymized according to GDPR, so we do not collect any names or something, so no personal data is here. And all the data is aggregated and processed with what is called natural language understanding technologies to extract insights and get some takeaways about patient experiences in the countries of interest. It also provides deep analysis to extract facts, not just some topics. And let me start with some general takeaways of the whole research. So as you know, perhaps much better than me, in general, the conditions of interest are discussed in a quite limited way. And in general, neurofibromatosis community is focused on NF1 somehow. But at the same time, some active patients and caregivers make lots of efforts to raise awareness, also by giving interviews, sharing their stories on social media, and so on. Specifically for Spanish-speaking communities, we can observe interesting patterns here because they are not always region-specific, but sometimes patients both from Spain and Latin American countries interact together and strive to support each other. In terms of topics discussed, number one in the field of symptoms is taken out perhaps by hearing-related issues. And in general, medical and surgical treatment is widely discussed, as well as the issue of innovations and how these innovations which appear nowadays can be applied specifically towards NF2. And in overall quality of life, mental health struggles, and the needs of finding similar patients, those like you, are number one in the discussion. We have also detected some specific findings related to how the condition is called, and I will also share them later on. And it's important to mention that in terms of age and gender, we have quite a significant prevalence of women, and also in comparison to other conditions like NF1, for instance, here we have a larger share of older patients, and which can be also perhaps sometimes explained by late diagnosis. So people join such communities sometimes later than with other conditions. And last but not least, and I will also focus on it later on, is the importance of NF organization. So this small talk is also a sign of gratitude to those who are present here, who make this great job, because we see that it's really important for patients who discuss their struggles and challenges online. In general, we have detected 4 communities, online communities, with the patients of interest in Spain, and 11 of them in Italy. And in those communities, people also recommend various HCPs to each other and opinion leaders, both from professional community and a patient advocacy community. I will not mention this specific name, but I guess you know many of those heroes. And it's important to mention that even this small discussion, I mean, the volume is not that great, shows how multidisciplinary the condition is, because recommended HCPs include pediatricians, neurosurgeons, neurologists, dermatologists, and other specialties. Overall statistics is as follows. So in Spain, we have analyzed the experience of 41 patients. From them, 26 were really active. Maybe the real number is higher, but due to the since we had to have an accurate sample, we only took into account those where the location was very clear. So in some cases, it could have been also Spain, but it could have been a Latin American country, so they were not included. And also, if a patient or caregiver was not mentioned in the type, it was assumed to have to be type 1 due to the infrequency of other conditions. In Italy, we have detected more than 100 patients, 153 patients with NF2 and Schwannomatosis. Here on this slide, you can see some basic statistics. I will not pay too much attention to it. I believe it's quite known, but again, it's important to mention here that female patients and caregivers strongly prevail, which can be perhaps leveraged in communication strategy, both online and offline. And we see that the youngest patient here is 23 years, while the oldest one is 65. And in Italy, it's quite similar. So we also have more ladies here, and but we also have children, with the youngest one being 3 years old. And as you see on this diagram, there are also more older patients. We believe that also a very important exercise which can be carried out with such an approach, and we're also happy to support patient community further in this respect, is to map patients geographically, because as you will see later, it's actually the key pain point, especially in some ultra-rare conditions or those with low level of awareness, like schwannomatosis, for instance. So the key point, the key struggle is to find those like you in some nearby locations if possible. So the geographical mapping is very important. And of course, we see that Madrid and Barcelona take first places, but we also have Tarragona province with quite a few of patients, and also some patients are actually located all over the countries. Maybe you can see these small blue dots. In Italy, it's also the same. So patients are all over the country, and patient families who are active online can be found in nearly any region. And the largest and the most active ones are Florence, Pistoia, Rome, and Milano. Now we have two more quite important, hopefully, slides, which indicate the topics discussed. And you see that though the community is quite small, the discussion is really rich. So we have lots of unmet needs related to symptoms, treatment, social implications, and everything else. And all in all, we have detected more than 80 various topics and discussions related to quality of life and unmet needs in Spain, and 43 of them in Italy. As you can see later, and if you are interested, we are more than happy. You can maybe deep dive into those bubbles shown here later. Some of them intersect and are similar for both countries, but at the same time, there are some differences which can be taken into account and in some communication strategies. And of course, just the very general unmet needs on finding information is still here, because their efforts of advocacy groups are great, but still overall awareness in various stakeholders in the countries is still quite limited. For treatment, there are specific drugs discussed, bevacizumab and Avastin specifically, but also, of course, surgical removal, especially of spinal tumors. And there are also a lot of questions related to availability and secondary effects of available treatments for surgeries, about complications, aftercare, and pain management. For symptoms, as it was already mentioned in the beginning, hearing loss and everything related to acoustic neurinoma is quite important, but also we have movement loss, paralysis, and the topic which is very special because it's also related to, it has also diagnostic significance. It's about presence or absence and the character of skin lesions, also in comparison with neurofibromatosis type 1. So it seems that this should be further addressed. For social implications, we also have several topics here. Insurance being number one in different aspects, as well as an ability to work on negatives by companies who do not want or try not to hire patients, so to say, as well as disability benefits from the government. And specifically for schwannomatosis, for the sake of time and due to the communication landscape in the countries, I will only mention it in the example of Spain. We can say that, of course, the general awareness is very low, very limited, and sometimes it's the same. So people from both Spain and LATAM countries are there, and there are different terms. Sometimes schwannomatosis associated with NF2 is used, which is actually somehow blurring the diagnostic term. But also we have NF3 here as the term mentioned by patients and caregivers. We have only detected 3 patients with confirmed schwannomatosis who explicitly mention it, all of them being female, from 30 to 51 years old, and also separately some patients were reporting related manifestations like vestibular schwannoma or acoustic neurinoma, but without clearly mentioning their diagnosis. And as you can see on this chart, number one topic, which is we strongly prevail over others, is about locating other patients, so finding others like you. And there is also sometimes disbelief about the existence of NF3. So it all leads us to, again, to the conclusion that there is still some misunderstanding about the connections of 3 conditions, NF1, NF2 schwannomatosis, and information sharing is important feature. And last but not least, I would like to mention those who already do so much to improve the situation. And a very good and very evident sign that the activities and the efforts are so important is that it's one of the widely discussed topics by patients and caregivers. So many advocacy groups are mentioned in different contexts, and people thank them for their support and recommend them to each other. So they are on the slides. Some of them are NF2 exclusive, like for Spain here, including those who are not Spain exclusively oriented, but also could have been founded by patients from Latin American countries where all Spanish-speaking patients communicate with each other, as well as some local communities like here. And we also have some communities which are about neurofibromatosis and in general, but who support NF2 patients a lot. And it's nice to say that some of them are members of NF Patients United, those marked with blue on this slide. And the same picture we have, the same landscape we have in Italy. So there are both organizations which are dedicated to NF2 specifically, and sometimes schwannomatosis, and those who are more general, but who pay a lot of attention to it and thus are very helpful to patients and their families. And some of them are also the members of NF Patients United, like on this slide. So that's actually it. Thank you for your attention and your patience.